When you were young, they offer you adventure. What they don't tell you is that the horror will haunt you forever. And home is just a memory where you no longer belong.
I always get up early because I find posting at this time seems to get more people liking what I post about the film, like, you know. Just before you arrived, I actually got notification that I've sold another copy of my film. Yeah. This is Jeff.
Heard about his film and that. He's getting all excited when he gets a sale and everything. His first sale, he nearly jumped through the roof. It's so funny. I'd like to go and see the film. I'm sorry for the premiere, getting there for nothing. But no, he'll probably charge me anyway, so.
Let's see your credit card. Come on.
So what's your goal for the film?
I would like it to become a cult classic.
How long have you been here in this spot?
This spot probably about 4 years, really. It's reasonably safe. I've only had one unfortunate incident in 4 years, which I think is pretty good going. A couple of people were throwing and smashing bottles up and down this road for about 2 hours, and nobody did anything. And at one time they threw a bottle at somebody else, but it hit me and smashed on my head. But it's all right, I've got a hard head, you know, so I survived. I refused to go to hospital and I put a plaster on myself because there's lots of people worse off in this city than me, and I didn't want to be in a bloody ambulance with me. I just had a little scratch on my head, you know. See you later. 4.5 years I've actually been on the streets, really, of London, and that's really what I'd class as homelessness. But it would be 11 years if you went by their strict technical system. I just bought a train ticket to come to London, single, and I had a hard drive, hopefully with my movie on, but didn't even know for many years whether my movie had survived on the hard drive. But I think London's been the right place to be. It might sound crazy coming to living on the streets of London, you get the right help, but you do, especially I would never have launched the film. What I'm doing now is I'm posting to the different social media sites that I'm on my latest bit of artwork to promote the film. We've got Helen at the top in red, Julie, the MI6 officer, the ninja, the nunchuck demon. You've got Malachi, the head demon, there at the bottom.
I want this assassin's luck to run out.
Paul Hockley there.
I've missed this.
And Jenny, who uses 2 handguns.
She's got a gun. I have 2.
It's my only way of promoting the film at the moment. The film's called Mystic Demon Killer. It's an action spy thriller mainly with horror elements, and it's based on the premise that sometime during the Cold War, a black ops unit operating without official sanction genetically engineered a super soldier.
So what exactly is being proposed here?
We're calling this Operation Demon.
DNA, engineered, military, overt threat, neutralizer.
Well, I came up with the idea through an article that had a thing about, are there big cats out in the countryside? And I did an off-the-cuff remark to my friend, I wonder if big cats are a cover for what's really in the countryside. And really and truly, we wrote it for about a year beforehand.
What's so important to risk my cover?
Something's come up. Ramblers in southwest Wales have gone missing, and there's talk about big cats in the area. Their families and the press are kicking up a fuss, and the government is under pressure to investigate.
What's this got to do with me?
I play a military intelligence officer in the film. I put myself in it because I was running out of people to cast.
What do you say, Steve?
I've told you to address me.
Shut up! All of you!
I normally sit down here somewhere just to watch the ducks and the canal and the boats. On the canal today, there's no cabin cruisers like I'd like to live on. They're all narrow boats. I've always wanted to live on a boat anyway. I got flooded out of my house and it's just made me sick of houses. The money I lost in the end for the damage external to the house, so it wasn't covered by my insurance, was about 90 grand. So when I sold the place, I paid off the 90 grand. And with what I had left, I decided to live my dream, which was to make my film. And that's what I did. The film cost me £20,000 before I shot anything. But the final cost, if you include my living costs, it was about 60 grand. But considering it's an action feature film, which back then Hollywood would have spent 60 million on, I think I've managed to do a reasonable job, you know?
Child's play.
You've got to understand that prior to this, I'd lost 90 grand through no fault of my own. The old me probably would not have spent that money. I didn't expect there was any chance of becoming homeless. That was not even on my radar at all. But at the moment, I don't have any regrets. I feel vindicated because it's out there and it's selling. So I consider I was right all along, you know? I only tend to go to what I would call private charities that don't deal with the government, because the government have their own agenda on things and they're not necessarily there to help you. Even my backstory is something that the homeless industry doesn't want to deal with, because of the loss of money to my house is the thing that really made this inevitable. The boxes that they help people with are if you're mentally ill, addicted to alcohol or anything like that, they will help you and they spend a lot of money. And I'm not saying they should be ignored, I'm just saying that there should be other options for people that need other options, because that doesn't sum up probably half of the people that are homeless. All right, I now see that saying that you've got a completed feature film, they might have assumed that I was delusional. Now, I now see that as a possibility. But finding ways that you can help the individual to earn money will help them sort out their own homelessness in a way. I do know a few people that in order to get help have become drug addicts or alcoholics, although I don't want to go any of that sort of route.
There is the misconception of homelessness means he's got a substance issue. Wages haven't gone up, so how can someone afford to pay the rent? Anyone is vulnerable. You're only 2 paychecks away from being homeless.
The amount of homeless people is ridiculous. I owed a few bits of rent. It wasn't that much though. Pathetic really.
How long have you been homeless for?
If not having your own front door keys homeless, then you could say about 20 years. But maybe 25 years, I lost count.
Few of them who are on benefits, universal credit, if they're late to meet the advisor, they've been sanctioned. And what do you do if you're sanctioned for 3 months?
What happens to a lot of people is that they get a place, something goes wrong, either they make a mistake or housing benefit makes a mistake, and then they lose a place, and then they're back out on the streets, and that's how a lot of people just go through the washing machine. And if it had happened to them 10 times, you might lose all faith in everything then.
Your employers are exploiting you, your landlord's exploiting you. So it seems like you're being victimized from every single corner.
Even, nights, 2 nights, a warmth is welcoming, but this government just done nothing, never have. Claiming millions and millions of pounds for themselves.
Get a job! You're working!
Work for your money. Work.
A lot of arrogant people. Especially when they've had a drink in them. That's when they start spitting at you and swearing at you and kicking you. Yeah.
Some people find it better off being on the street. As David has found out, he would never have made this film if he was living in a flat or a house, because he'd be paying all his money on rent and bills and everything.
I think it's inspiring, not only for the homeless community, but people from all walks of life.
He's actually sacrificed a hell of a lot just to get where he is, which is commendable.
It's a particularly good day. We're having sausage and mash, so it makes me happy anyways.
Yeah. All right, Dennis, you all right, man? Hey, you're still messing me up with the haircut, bro. Yeah. He had like a mop of hair, right? So when he came in the other day all shaved up, I was like, whoa, wait a minute, didn't he? I'm not used to seeing him. I was low-key jealous because I didn't have any. We're at the soup kitchen at the American International Church on Tottenham Court Road. So we're a separate independent charity. And although we're separate from the church is our biggest contributor. I've been here for almost 4 years now. I've been running it as director for nearly 2 years. Even 2 years ago, you know, we're feeding 60 people a day. Now we're feeding 90 people a day. We've had 102 come in today. A few days ago, this past Monday, 128 people came through the door at our highest number ever. The vast majority of the people that come in here are just normal, regular, everyday people. Had, you know, a run of bad luck or some tragic circumstances happening. I think the perception sometimes is people can change if they want to change. You know, if they really want to do better, you can do better. And that's just not the case, man. That's just not the case. When you talk to people, when you speak to someone like David and you hear a little bit about his background and what he's been through, what he's gone through, and how he's still progressing in life, like that's so inspiring, you know what I mean?
This is the charity that allowed me to use their computers so that I could finish my film.
Oh, right, thank you.
This is the hard drive with the 160-odd gig HD copy of the film. Luckily, I was able to download this software for free, and thankfully, these kind people helped me out. And I was able to use this iMac, which is powerful enough, it runs it fine. I did some Foley work on the very end scene. The main demon character is smoking a cigar, and I didn't record audio, so I wanted to replace the sound, obviously, of the Zippo lighter being open, started up. And there's also a bit where he spat as well, so I had to spit to get the sound effects to work. I have an interrogation scene where my character's interrogated with these plastic chains, which obviously didn't sound like real chains, but they look very realistic. And I was like, no, this has got to sound like I'm being hit by steel here. So I bought myself this chain from a yacht chandler's and just whacked it against an old tree trunk. And I managed to get away with it. It was actually quite quiet in the centre of London. I've been able to do some Foley work where I was, so that's amazing. Yeah, the original guy that was going to do the nunchucks let me down, and I actually, believe it or not, in a very small country town, I managed to find this guy who was absolutely astonishing with nunchucks. So this is the ninja character, and now you see what he's facing. I didn't know he could move like that. And that's actually me dropping the dart onto a board in the bath that's been painted like the walls where I shot. So he can actually spin 360 and flail them so fast you could barely see them, which I think made the scene. Can you plug that in down there? There should be a spare plug, I think. A friend kindly gave me this laptop. It does stuff that my mobile phone can't do. So whilst they've been very kind and let me come here, at times when they couldn't do that, I could still work on projects. This site lets you do international distribution and then give you a result of who's bought your product or rented it. So it's a big help. The first buyer was from Pakistan, which was quite a shock. The ultimate goal with releasing online is that if I can continue to get the publicity, the sales will just go up more and more. And if it becomes a cult classic, which I'm hoping it will, then it could just be a constant burner, at least maybe for 5 or 6 years or whatever, which could bring me in a nice amount of money to at least start me shooting films again, you know. I've got a few short film scripts, but I also have 2 feature film ideas quite well developed. I have a film idea about 2 guys getting kicked out of a small town and having to come to London and discovering that there is a great threat that vampires are threatening to take over London, basically. But these 2 guys are actually homeless at the same time, so it'd be difficult for them to say what it is because how they would be treated. So yeah, I think it would be a good way, in a fictional way, where I could sort of use my experiences of being homeless to show the challenges for some homeless people, but also show that they can actually be, normal human beings or even excel. That one I think could be very popular, but it would be very expensive at the same time. I mean, it wouldn't be stupidly expensive, but I can't envisage it being done under 10 million, you know, so... I'm going to the Knights of Malta handout on George Street, what we call the Spanish Church. Best soup in town. They can have 100 plus, so you'll see the queue. But they really are a crowd that treat you more like friends than homeless people.
Sausage or chicken?
Do you like horror movies?
No, not too scary. I wouldn't necessarily say it's that scary. I think maybe on a psychological level it really does get to some people, so yeah.
Is it jumpy scary?
At times, there's some few jumps.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But I haven't overdone that because sometimes that can be cheesy.
Yeah. Well, that'd be right up my daughter's street.
Right, okay.
I think my living conditions have perhaps given me a sort of tunnel vision on concentrating all my efforts. If my film was to get a premiere, then it would be, great to see it on the big screen and hear it through a big sound system. Let's hope I will see it on the big screen. I think I'd be absolutely knocked out by the experience. The weather's got quite a bit colder, but we've got the right equipment, myself and my friends, so we just adapt to it. Well, the sales, I must admit, have stagnated over the last 3 weeks or so. I didn't expect to sell anything for 2 or 3 months, so the fact that I had an initial sales that maxed out at $60 gross, I was knocked out with. I don't know where my optimism comes from. I think some of it is because both my mother and my father went through a war, and how can I moan about this if they went through a war? I think if you've got the right attitude to life, anything can bounce back from. I mean, I've known somebody that was in Auschwitz, so what have I got to moan about? I go somewhere where lovely people feed me meals if I need them. So that's not really the worst things that can happen to you in life, and this is only supposed to be temporary. And if this all works out big time, it's only taken me 5 years from losing everything and hitting the streets to actually going where I want to go, So it's possible. Jeff, we're here. I'm here.
Anyone else?
Yes.
I forgot your newspaper delivery.
Oh.
I forgot all about that.
Thank you.
We've got some news. We've managed to find a place to screen your film.
All right.
Yeah, it's going to be at Screen on the Green.
Screen on the Green?
Yeah.
Oh my word. That's fantastic. When is it going to be on? What date then?
The 5th of February. Yeah.
5th of February? Wow. Jeff, are you free the 5th of February? There's going to be a great film screened on the Screen on the Green.
Some dodgy film, you
Yeah, it's my film, yeah. What do you mean some dodgy film?
Well, as I said before, I haven't actually seen it. I just see a few trailers.
Well, you can see it now if you get yourself to the cinema.
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah. No problem.
Great stuff. Great. 5th, right? Okay. Oh, that's brilliant. Thanks a lot, lads. That is astonishing. I'm off to get me a suit to see if I brush up all right. Hello.
So what size
Well,
are
I'm
you?
normally a 42 chest and...
We have the suits donated for people that we work with. They can either be guests who are staying in our winter night shelter or former guests of previous seasons. And these are clothing for them to wear to job interviews or when they have opportunities. Since I've known him and I've been here for about 1.5 years now, it's incredible to think that this is sort of the culmination of all of that work that's been happening, and I'm just really proud that, that tonight's the night. Oh, David.
That's right.
Yeah, you look
Okay.
amazing. You look absolutely amazing.
Don't have any ties, do you?
Of course I've got ties.
Can you give me a bit more light? Oh, wow. Yes.
When's the last time you had a suit on, David?
2009, that would have been 2009. Yes. Oh, that's very nice. Hmm.
I can't believe I am walking to a cinema that I've never been into before to see one of my films. As a filmmaker, I'm looking forward to watching the audience really closely and see if they react the way I hope they do, or do they do anything I don't expect them to do? Is there something that affects them that I didn't think about? I'd like them to jump at the few places that I've designed, to look over there at that and know that my film's going to be on the big screen. You can drag me through hell again if you want. So there it is behind me. My film will be on one of those screens in there. It doesn't get any better than that. Well, that's pretty impressive, isn't it? You know? I had no idea it'd be like that. Wow. On the front of a big screen cinema like this, it's quite something. Mind you, I warned you, you know, a lot of the girls that are turning up tonight are going to moan if there's no limousine. You know that, don't you? They're going to say, Dave, it was nice, but what about the limo? See, this is where I find out I'm not on the list. In the great film Stand By Me, there's a line that says, you never have the friends that you have at 11. Well, also you never have the friends that you have when you're on the road, let me tell you. So I want to thank all the people that have helped me for just making this possible, really. It's quite a thing. I am, yes, wow, yes. Anyway, I won't hang around too long because there's something better for you to watch. Thank you very much. Thanks all for coming.
When you were young, they offer you adventure. What they don't tell you is that the horror will haunt you forever. And home is just a memory where you no longer belong.
Where's your boss?
Amazing achievement, yeah, and very moving, and yeah, very happy to be a part of it, and to see you again.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved seeing it, partly because of all the memories, and I sort of cringing at bits of me because I look so young, and I'm just like, did I really say that?
Yeah, I've got something.
Sounds nasty.
Shut up and listen. Look, I found the victim's keys. I know where it happened. I thought that I got better as the 3 years went on, maybe. I'd kind of stopped imagining that I'd see it, because, yeah, we'd all lost touch, and so it was a big surprise.
I don't know how Dave has actually finished. I mean, I know he's had a few troubles. I had no idea they'd been, living on the streets for like 4.5 years. The fact that he can finish a film while still being homeless, that says how determined he was to make the film.
This is it sounds very dramatic. I suppose it was in a way. I was in a really bad state because of the way things have happened. And I actually was quite hungry. And I very stupidly one night, I bought sweets instead of, say, a cheap bread. And I woke up in the night and I had internal bleeding, the sweets, because I had so little in me. And I said to myself, I don't care if I wake up. Well, I went to sleep and I woke up. And thankfully, the internal bleeding stopped. I did go to the doctors in the hospital, but the internal bleeding stopped. But I said to myself, this is bloody ridiculous. So to me, London's home. And I surmised there would be a lot of support. And there is. So I made the right move. And although it took me another, 4.5 years or whatever to end up with that, I don't mind.
Would you be up for a sequel?
Yes. Mystic Demon Killer 2.
In the city.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If Dave wanted to do a sequel, I would be there straight away. I want my characters to wake up in a gutter in Las Vegas. I've still got the coat. So I can, and then come back because Kate's in trouble. Boom, I'll be there.
Well, it was better than my wildest dreams, let's put it that way. I didn't think tonight was going to go anything like as big as this, and the film tours work as well. And yeah, wow. Just from the way people are talking to me now, even whether it's about the film or my story, I just wasn't expecting people to be so much like, oh, this is really interesting. Definitely worth waiting for. Yeah, this was fantastic.
No! We need him.